Okay, news and notes. So I was not invited to the Zoom call yesterday, but all the running backs had a lot of the running backs had a Zoom call. And according to NBC Sports, participants in that call felt that Josh Jacobs does not plan to show up for training camp or the preseason. So, yeah, I mean, we already addressed this, but he seems a little – Saquon Barkley seems angry. Josh Jacobs seems a little angrier. Should we be drafting Zamir White? Do you think any chance Zamir White has the third down role, or is that definitely going to be Abdullah or Bolden or something? Heath, what do you think about Zamir White?
I mean, we should be drafting Zamir White, yes. But it's still one of the last two non-kicker or defense rounds for me. And I don't think that there will be somebody who's on the field sharing with Jacobs a lot. Enough to matter. I think Jacobs has to miss time for any of those guys to matter.
All right, Jamie, we already talked about Dobbins. We didn't talk about Melvin Gordon, though. The Ravens signed Melvin Gordon, and they have Gus Edwards, obviously. Is there a backup that you're interested in on Baltimore?
It's still Gus Edwards. I think as long as he's healthy, he's on in the same, boat as J.K. Dobbins. 2 years removed from the ACL tear they tore basically in the same month in 2021 prior to the season. And so Edwards has been 5 yards per carry every year of his career. He's gonna be productive. The thing about Melvin Gordon, I know people look at it and say, wow, he's got still the name recognition. I don't think a lot of people realize he was on the Chiefs practice squad the majority of the second half of the year. Actually won a Super Bowl ring, but he never played in Kansas City. So he's past 30. He struggled, at the end of his Broncos tenure, bounced around until he ended up with Kansas City. So I think there's just more. They got stuck a couple times over the last couple of years without somebody that they probably feel like they trust. And this is more, I think, a scenario of somebody that they trust. So I wouldn't put too much attention on it. And the contract, up to $3 million, I'm sure it's just very incentive laden. I don't think we've seen the release yet on what the money is, but it's, probably has to do a lot to earn the $3 million.
I think, and I think Josina Anderson had a report out yesterday or the day before that both Gus and Dobbins are expected to be 100%. Like, this is just a depth signing. I think it tells us more about the state of the running back market. The fact that Melvin Gordon got signed and Leonard Fournette and Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook are all still free agents with training camp starting for everybody. Like, the way to get a job as a veteran running back is to agree to take an incentive-laden deal. There's not guaranteed money available right now.
All right. Biggest news, maybe. Javonte Williams not expected to start training camp on the PUP list. So since July 1st, it's more than 100 drafts on NFC. Javonte Williams is RB26, which is basically the same ADP as DeAndre Swift, Rashad White, and Dameon Pierce. It's ahead of James Conner, Isaiah Pacheco, and David Montgomery. So, Jamie, what do you think about Javonte Williams in that range right now? And look, I mean, maybe he's going to be even higher. This is a training camp risers show. Javonte Williams could certainly be one of the biggest risers. Should he be going ahead of DeAndre Swift, Rashad White, Dameon Pierce, James Conner, Isaiah Pacheco, David Montgomery?
He should go ahead of Pacheco, and he should go ahead of Swift. But that's it for me. I still have the same reservations. This is great news, and it's obviously exciting, but there's so much history that tells us that these guys in year one after their ACL tear, unless your name is Adrian Peterson, they struggle. And so I think that's just something you have to take into account. And we saw last year firsthand, J.K. Dobbins, for example. I think this is going to be a shared backfield to begin with, and probably the majority of the season. Even if Javonte's healthy, he should be the lead guy over Samaje Perine, but they're going to both split time. It's a great situation. The additions that they made this offseason from Sean Payton to the two offensive linemen should make things a lot better. But I still always worry about these guys coming off ACL tears, and especially if they come back too soon. So there's always the risk of something else. We see sometimes ACL is fine, but the hamstring compensating something else, soft tissue, becomes an issue also. So I'm still probably out on Javonte Williams if he creeps up too high, but he's going to move up one spot for me. Right now he's 27. He'll move ahead of DeAndre Swift.
All right. I guess now we kept saying, why is Breece Hall ranked so much higher, being drafted so much earlier than Javonte Williams? And I think one of the reasons was he had a less severe injury. But now, I mean, I guess you could say that Javonte is ahead of Breece Hall. Hall's on the PUP list. Javonte not expected to be. So
I don't think we know for sure I think some of this could be team specific in terms of how comfortable they are bringing a guy off a PUP at certain points. I wouldn't want to take it that far quite yet. If we go another week and Javonte is doing everything and Breece Hall's still on the PUP, then I would say I think Javonte is ahead of Breece Hall. But like Breece Hall's running, they were talking about how he's clocked at 23 miles an hour or something. He's there. He's just not ready to practice. Is Javonte going to be a part-time player, just not on the PUP for a week, and then they're both in the same stage? So I'm not ready to say Javonte's ahead of him yet, but I do think round 6 at RB26 is a good price. I've got Javonte at RB20 in round 5. So
okay. I think there's also a talent difference here too. You know, you're drafting, if both these guys are healthy, Breece Hall's a much better fantasy option. At least he's proven so in the small sample size, you know what you project. But I think that factors in also. But I mean, I'll speak for myself. I think I'm looking at the rankings here. Heath, you have them 5 guys apart. Breece Hall's at 15. Williams is at 20. They're 6 spots apart for me. And Heath and I think for the most part, have been the low guys on Breece Hall. I wouldn't, as I've said here, I wouldn't take him until round 4 right now. You know, so that's way behind, I think, where ADP is.
Man, remember that one game in 2021 against Kansas City when Melvin Gordon did not play? Week 13, Javonte Williams, 23 carries, 102 yards, 6 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown, 29.8 fantasy points. But he's just never – that's really been his only game where he's been the guy, and he came through. All right, back to the news and notes. Probably pick up the pace a little bit here so we can get to the crux of the show. But Breece Hall is on the PUP list, as mentioned. That's old news. That was from last week. But Jimmy Garoppolo, Nyheim Hines, that broke this morning. Buffalo running back Nyheim Hines expected to miss the season with a knee injury. We weren't really talking about him. I guess in the back of my mind, I was thinking maybe he could get some more work. He only had 5 catches in 9 games last year and cut into James Cook's share a little bit, but that's not going to happen. Sorry to hear it for Nyheim Hines. Jimmy Garoppolo passed his physical with the Raiders, so that is good news. Amari Cooper and Kadarius Toney had suffered injuries, apparently minor for Cooper. I don't know about for Toney, but I mean, that's unbelievable with Toney. You know, I remember Rashad Penny got hurt very early in training camp last year, and then he, came back. He was fine. He played 6-7 games, whatever it was. But Heath, can you believe this? Kadarius Toney's hurt already?
I don't think it's that surprising. Like I don't know.
One day.
That's kind of what happens. And I think like there was a big positive thing that came out about Richie James being the best receiver on the first day of camp, which makes you feel bad about Sky Moore. But what I wrote like a month ago or month and a half ago in one of my Dynasty wide receiver updates was, if this happens, which just happened, and Kadarius Toney misses 2 or 3 weeks, like the biggest training camp riser is going to be Sky Moore going to the moon.
Yeah, I guess. Why not? I mean, is this great? Just a question.
Mm-hmm.
Why not MVS?
Because we know who, like, he's 29 years old or something. He can't earn more than 4 targets per game.
Okay, that's fine. How about Dalvin Cook? So Dalvin Cook reportedly, he offered his ex-girlfriend $1 million to send a letter to the NFL claiming that he did not abuse her, even though she had already testified under oath that he did. She had accused him of abuse. He tried to offer her, bribe her basically to, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say that word, but he offered her $1 million to write a letter to the NFL absolving him. So he could be facing a suspension, Dalvin Cook. Just keep that in mind if you're doing any drafts anytime soon. And it might keep teams from gambling on him too.
I asked this yesterday. Who are the guys who have been relevant for fantasy who were like Cook and Zeke and Fournette and Hunt right now, free agents when everybody opened camp? Not guys that got cut and then picked up by somebody else, but guys who were legitimate free agents going into camp. Somebody said Deontay Foreman, Antonio Brown because he had the suspension thing hanging over his head. But like, I just wonder if we should just be out on Cook.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not.
Why not? Why not all of them?
Well, because he's the only one who's really getting drafted in the first 10 rounds.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The best one. He's the best player of.
Well, no, yeah, I agree, but I just was curious why excluding the other guys. I guess the one situation could be is if Zeke returns to Dallas, and then at least there's familiarity there, or for whatever reason Kareem Hunt goes back to Cleveland or something like that. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't see the path to not perfection, but the path to just, the workload that we're looking for. Even if, Dalvin goes to Miami and we know that backfield is not full of stars, but there's still guys that the coach likes. And the Jets would presumably be a situation where he's sharing with Breece Hall at some point, unless Hall's just not ready to play at all.
Okay. All right. So many notes. Bryce Young signed his rookie contract. CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson have not. Patriots right tackle Mike Onwenu is on the PUP list. He's a very good player for them, starting right tackle. The Jets seem confident that Aaron Rodgers will play more than one season. Rashad Bateman is back with Baltimore. Washington apparently could change its team name again. Chase Claypool, remember him? He's on the PUP list for the Bears. Cleveland head coach Kevin Stefanski said Nick Chubb has done well catching the ball. Detroit wide receiver Marvin Jones is on the non-football injury list. Josh Reynolds, SZN. And Detroit rookie tight end Sam Laporta is expected to have an important role right away, according to DetroitLions.com. Sam Laporta or Dalton Kincaid, who are you taking?
Kincaid for now, but Laporta's a very, very intriguing option.
I feel like I got bullied into taking Dalton Kincaid higher than Sam Laporta, but yes, still Kincaid.
Okay. And
that 6-game sample size is going to be interesting. That first 6 games without Jameson.
The Giants signed James Robinson and Cole Beasley. It's great news if you're a Giants fan. It's really what you want to see. Like, well, that's what we have to do. We have to sign James Robinson and Cole Beasley. Definitely need more slot receivers.